All right, guys, so here we are at the end of day 15. At least this is the end of day 15 for me because it's lunchtime. So, end of day 15, finishing with $803.63 in the small account. I'm going to post this on StockTwit. So, plus 803.63 on just one stock, BGI. I kept it simple today. I didn't overtrade. Total of, I think, 3 trades on this one stock um, between my two accounts. So up 900 before commissions and 803.63 after commissions, which is overall not a bad day. This week is so far seemed kind of slow. Yesterday we had GLBS, gapping up again, and that was very choppy, not an easy one to trade. And then this morning, we really didn't have much of anything that looked good on the gap scanner. So I'll pull the gap scanner up here. We'll do historical date we'll just do 9 a.m. And you'll be able to see that there really wasn't anything this morning that looked that great. And by the way, here's my P&L for today, up right here, $803.63. All right, so commission's about $100. I traded total, I think 6,000 shares today. 6,000 that I bought and then 6,000 I sold, so I guess 12,000 total shares. And I'll go over the entries on BGI in a second. But based on the watch list, it was a pretty non-event day. There just wasn't much that looked that great. We had MPSX up at the top of the watch list, or the gap scanner, but that was a buyout, so no trades on that. IDXG here, this one's pretty crowded. No interest in trading that one. This one only 100 shares of volume. DFFN, it's below the 200 moving average. So if I go over here and I show you guys DFFN, you'll see that on the daily chart, this is coming up, but it's going to run into this purple line. That purple line is the 200 moving average, and it's still a ways off that level, but that's going to be an issue. So no interest in trading that one. Cat B right here. I didn't like this gap. We traded it last week, and I wasn't really that impressed with it. So no trades on Cat B. Ended up, having this really high tick up here pre-market and then opening basically flat. So really no action on that one. And I was thinking it was like around 9, I don't think like 9 or 9:45 or so. I hadn't taken any trades yet, and I was like, you know what? Today just might be a day where I don't trade. I want to trade, but I had to remind myself. I was like, Ross, look, you're up $9,000, or you're up to $9,000 in equity right now. So 8,500 in profit in the last 14 days in the small account. Don't push it. You don't need to overdo it. You don't want to have a day where you give back $1,500 or $2,000. And it doesn't take much to do it. For any of us that trade with bigger size, you can lose $1,000 like that. And I really don't want that to happen in this account. So I would rather not trade and maybe miss a setup that works that was only so-so than to risk taking trades that are so-so quality and taking that big loss. I just can't afford it right now. And that comes back to the ability to maintain composure and really to exercise self-control as a trader. It's not easy. I mean, there have been a lot of times where I've gotten overly aggressive, I start to get emotional, I start to get frustrated, and I take it out on my trading. 9 times out of 10, when you trade like that, you lose money. And I think, this is a tough job, especially because so many traders are, as I think we know, young men. A lot of men in this community, a lot of young men, middle-aged as well, but when you're a young buck and you're out there trying to make some money in the market, you can get really emotional and really frustrated, especially when it's not working your way. And you can't punch the market. You can't force the market. You're not stronger than the market. We never will be. It's like trying to fight a rip current or something. We're not stronger than the ocean. We're not stronger than the market, and we just always have to remember that. If the market's going down, well, then that's the trend. We can't fight it, and it means we either step out of the way or sell our positions or whatever it is. But it's something that I know I experienced a lot as a younger trader in my mid 20s, and now as I'm getting a little bit older, I think I'm kind of having two things happen at once. One is I'm getting a little older and I'm maybe calming down a little bit, and the other is I've had more experience as a trader and I'm able to make better decisions because of that experience, and I have more confidence. And so now I have the ability to say on a day where I don't see anything good that, what, I don't have to trade today. Today's the day I'm going to watch Law and Order. Catch up on Stabler and Benson, and just chill out a little bit. As it turns out, we ended up having some good opportunities today. So actually, really just one. So and I'm seeing some thumbs up for the Law and Order call out, which I'm happy you guys appreciate that. So BGI, this ended up being the stock that I traded today, and it was unexpected. It wasn't on my watch list. It just ended up, hitting the scanners, and I looked at it and I said, yeah, looks good. I'm going to take a stab. So that whole thought process happens really quickly, right? And so let me walk you through kind of the analysis, the quick analysis that I had to do on that trade before I got in, where I had to decide, do I want to take this trade or not? How much size am I going to take? How aggressive am I going to be? What's my stop? What's my profit target? So on and so forth. So BGI, we'll scroll back here on the high day Momo scanner. So it first hits at 9:43. So I'm 13 minutes into the day, no trades whatsoever, and I'm thinking that, this might be a slow day. And just to preface this, I did see CLRB moving today, but my concern with this is that it was a little too cheap. I thought that it was going to be fairly crowded because even in the first 2 minutes it had I think it was 2 million shares of volume. So I was like, this one's going to be crowded. It's pretty cheap. I don't think it's going to be the type that really opens up. We've traded it in the past and it's just never been the easiest. But BGI, although it's a similar price range, this is a former runner. All right, so I pull up the chart on BGI. I see it hit on the scanner, and immediately I recognize that name is a former runner. That's a stock that's had a history of making a big move. So I'm like, okay, BGI, this is something that I want to look at very quickly. All right, and I'll show you, let's see. This right here is BGI at 943. So it's popping up at $1.67, and this is the chart. We went from $1.50 up to 210, and then we're kind of consolidating right now, but we've come back off that level a bit. All right, so as soon as I saw that popping up, I thought, okay, this might be the one. And what you can see here is that early in the day, it kind of popped up, pulled back, consolidated, and then made a second move, right here around 942, and that's when it hit the scanner. When I saw that, I was like, okay, I like it, and I'm going to jump in. I got in at 171 and 175 and 177, basically buying as it was squeezing. Now, I took 4,000 shares and I set a 10-cent stop in my SureTrader account. So I was like, okay, I'm risking $400. It's maybe more risk than I'd like, but I think this is one that I can easily get 15 to 20 cents on and get that quick profit cushion. So I got in, and it pops up to a high of 192. And I was like, okay, not bad. So I'm still holding. Now at that point, with 4,000 shares, I'm up from 75 to 95 would be $800. It pops up through $2, or actually what happens is it pops up right to the $2 spot. And when it hits the $2 spot, we could see a lot of sellers putting their orders at $2. And that told me that, this is a little bit heavy. There's some people that are, maybe shorting this or that are taking profit. Now, something that we sometimes notice, and this is just a tangent for a second, but when I take short positions, and I was watching IBM today, sounds like rain. You know what? I know exactly what that is. Let's see. Let's see if I can back out of this for 1 second. There we go. That should fix it. Um, Let me pop back on. All right, that should fix it. Um, so IBM. So when I'm seeing these stocks that are moving up really quickly, that are running fast, a lot of times what I do is I know that they're going to have resistance at the whole dollar and the half dollar. So if I see it coming up to 74 or 75, let's just say it's coming up to 75, I might think, you know what, I might put out an order to short, let's say 1,000 shares at 92, and maybe I'll short another 1,000 at 98 because I think it's going to come up here, but then hit that resistance and then roll over. So I start putting out my sell orders as we get up to the whole dollar, because a lot of times they come up and they tap that level and then they roll over. So when they tap that level and roll over, by the time they roll over, they can quickly drop back down to the 70s, especially the higher price names. And by the time you get confirmation, you're chasing it. So that's why some traders will short as these stocks are going up. And we also do that if a stock has short sale restriction, because we have to short on the ask. So we start putting out these orders. And then what happens is when you start shorting a stock in the 90s, like 92, 95, 98, and it drops down, you're profitable. But if it gets up and it breaks over that whole dollar, you do one of two things. A lot of traders will set stops right on the other side. So like, 75.02, 75.03, 75.05. Others will set stops at 75.11 or 75.12 to give it a little bit more room. It kind of depends on account size. Some will just hold, but a lot of people will be like, okay, I'm stopping out. This is too strong. So that's why long bias traders get into these stocks for the break of the whole dollar, knowing that there's a lot of people that will buy there and shorts are going to cover. And when they send those orders to cover, you get that additional pop. And that sometimes brings us right up to, whatever it is, 225, 230, 240. Sometimes we continue to squeeze. Now, in the case of BGI, this squeezed up here and it broke. It hit $2 and then it started to pull back. And so I was like, you know what? I don't want to get into a situation where this comes all the way back down, where where that $2 spot is really resistance. And you can see here how it went from $2 all the way back down to 85. So I went from being up 25 cents to being up only 5 cents. So I took profit. As we started to see that resistance, I hit the sell button and I started to sell on the bid in the 90s. So I sold like 92, 95, and 85. Just kind of like, all right, I'm going to take out 3/4 of my position. But if this shows strength and it looks like it's going to come back up, well, that's okay too. I'll add back. So then what I did on this one is I said, okay, I'm going to look to add back over the whole dollar, over $2. And as I started to see volume coming in at 195, I was like, that's it. I'm going to punch the order. So I added 2,000 shares right here at 195, and we immediately popped up to 210. So, immediately I'm up, a couple $100. Now I bought 2,000 shares in my SureTrader account, and in my bigger account I bought 8,000. So more aggressive in my bigger account. I've got a much bigger cushion in that account. Now we pop up here to 212. And we pull back to 197, and that's when I kind of panicked. I was like, that's not what I wanted to see. I didn't want to see this go to 212, go all the way down to 97, because that looks like it might be a false break, where we break over the level and then we totally reject it. And sometimes that will be high of day and we sell off from there. So as soon as it popped back up a second time, this is where I sold. And I sold on the ask at 208. So I put out my orders at 208, I sold on the ask, and then it ended up coming down here and selling off. So in total, in 2 trades, one entry at 75, and then a second entry at 95, I was able to make, in my small account, $900. That account started this morning with $9,017, and I made 10% in one day. So tomorrow I'll open close to $10,000, and you can see BGI continued to fire on the scanner as it was squeezing up. And then that was really it on the scanners. Nothing else popped up here, so there were no other trades. All right, but BGI, some solid trades on this one. Today's a day where in my small account I made $800 after commissions, and my big account I made $2,500. So, I'm trading basically two different strategies here. One is more aggressive, holding positions a little bit longer, taking bigger size. This account's got $43,000. And then my other account, I'm being a little bit more conservative, taking profit faster, and making sure I'm just building, one step at a time. So I'm trading two very different strategies, which a lot of traders do, especially traders who trade in an IRA account and also trade in a regular account. And it's a little tricky to do that. And I found that sometimes I end up focusing in the wrong place because of the way I've chosen to take my risk. And the result is that by the end of the morning, and this is lunchtime, I start to feel pretty exhausted just because all morning I've had to do these quick risk analysis decisions. So when I first saw BGI pop on the scanner, the first thing I said is, it's a former runner, I remember it. Number two, it's got a strong daily chart with no nearby resistance, and it's above the 200 moving average. It's above the 200, it's above the 50, it's above the 20, it's above the 9. So it's really strong. Number three, it's up 13%, or number four, it's up 13%, and it has high relative volume. There may not be a catalyst, but it's giving us a technical breakout. It's worth jumping in and then checking to see if there's a headline. I didn't see any fundamental news, and so this may not be a stock that continues. But at the same time, we've been seeing such strength in the market of small caps, with GLBS, ETRM, IDXG, that it makes sense that traders are now looking for that next stock to jump onto. And I am too. I'm looking for the next one that's going to make a big move. I was thinking BGI, certainly has potential if traders want to jump on it and if it has news. And then, of course, I would have been in one of the strongest stocks of the day with a really good price. Once I realized that, this doesn't have any big news, there's not breaking news, I sort of adjust my focus to, I'm just going to, try to take the profit and, and not overstay my welcome. Now, the 5-minute chart on this, we ended up getting a pretty sharp pullback down to the 9 moving average, but because this has gotten so squeezed up, the pullback ended up being almost a 50% retracement. And it didn't take this bounce here. The first 5-minute candle to make a new high. The reason is because by the time that was happening, the price was below the 20 moving average on the 1-minute chart. And I really like to buy when stocks are above the 20, not below it. So I didn't end up taking that trade, even though it, would have worked from 77 up to, it's only from 77 to 84. So 7 cents of profit, it's not worth it. If the window's only 7 cents, and we rarely capture the entire window, we capture, half of it, maybe. So, the profit potential there, only 3 cents, it's not worth it. When you deal with the spreads and a little bit of slippage, it's not a profitable trade. But, one of the things I said to myself this week was to focus on 5-minute chart patterns, because we saw some really good 5-minute chart patterns last week. A couple of them I missed, and I realized that those were some of the setups that I could have been the most aggressive on. I could have been taking, easily 3, 4, 5,000 shares in my small account, maybe 10 or 15,000 in my big account, and doing really well on. The problem is that I was jumping from one momentum stock to the next because that high-a-day scanner was just firing off alerts all day long. And what ends up happening is that when a stock is pulling back and consolidating, I stop focusing on it because I've looked to the next thing. And then I miss that consolidation in the first 5-minute candle to make the new high. So, I've got all these charts here. So one of the things I want to try to do this week, and just in general, is keep some of those stocks on the back burner. So I'm kind of watching them, waiting for that consolidation and waiting for that pullback entry. So, BGI now, of course, at this time of day, as we get into the lunch hour, I'm not really inclined to trade it, but, some of the other small caps, if we were seeing some nice consolidation in the late morning, I'd be really interested. And I hope that we'll see that this week. I hope that we see another really strong stock here, tomorrow or maybe the next day. We're kind of in between parabolic stocks where, we're sort of waiting for that next big headline that everyone jumps on and it's just like, okay, this is the one. And, we obviously had the shipping stocks. We had some action in a couple names like ETRM. and IDXG. ETRM I never really found to be that easy to trade, despite the fact that it went from $6 to $30. For some reason, this one wasn't super easy. IDXG, also not the easiest. It's kind of spiked up a couple times. So we'll see what's next. But in the meantime, if I can keep, picking off 200 here, 400 there, 600 there, I'll be able to continue to build my account up. So tomorrow I'll open just under $10,000, 9,800, and I'm focused in on getting to 12,500. Hopefully by the end of the week. I mean, I definitely want to be there by the end of the month, which would be between now and next Tuesday. That would put me halfway to $25,000, which is really my first big target. That's kind of like $25,000 is a real milestone. So if I can get halfway there, 12,500, I'm going to be, feeling good about my, my track here, that I was able to get halfway there by the end of January. If I can increase my position size, I can also increase my profits, and maybe I'll be able to get to 25,000 by mid-February, hopefully by March 1st at the latest. That's kind of my goal, is March 1st, but I would like to get there by President's Day weekend, which is, I think, the 17th of February. Yeah, so the 17th of February. Though realistically, I would have to make, if that was going to happen, I'd have to make basically, I'd have to make $5,000 or close to $6,000 a week for the next 3 weeks. And this week I'm only up, how much did I make yesterday? I can't even remember. Made $319, so I'm only up $1,100 this week. So I don't know. We'll see. I got to take what the market's going to give me. We can all have these kind of, goals, but I'm not going to get bent out of shape if it doesn't happen. I can't control everything. It's just, I can control how much I'm going to risk on a trade and whether or not I'm going to take a trade, but I can't control whether or not we're going to have big setups or, breaking news and that sort of thing. So I'll take what I can get, and hopefully we'll have some good opportunities here tomorrow and going into the rest of the week. All right, so that's where we're finishing up today. Day 15 of the small account challenge, up $803.63, which puts me just under $10,000. And that by itself, to be able to take $583 on January 1st and turn it into nearly $10,000 in 1 month, that by itself is a pretty big accomplishment. But I'm still only about 10% of the way to my $100,000 goal. So slow and steady. This is a marathon. It's not about just sprinting out of the gates and then collapsing. I got to continue, and I've got to keep it up. And that means I have to continue to manage risk, continue to trade smart, and remember that, not to be negative, but that, one lapse in judgment can give you a really big setback. So every time you sit down to trade, you got to be focused. You got to be 100% there, mentally, emotionally. And if you're not, then that's a good day to just step back away from the keys. All right, guys. So that's it for today, and I will see you all first thing tomorrow morning for day 16. All right. Thanks, guys.
Let's be honest. If you made it this far, you must have really enjoyed that video. So what's stopping you? Subscribe right here and get email alerts anytime I upload new content. Until then, happy surfing!